Hey, this is Ramon from Bold Like a Leopard, the Starting Leopard blog as well, startingleopard.blogspot.com, or Bold Like a Leopard on Facebook, Bold all in caps. And I'm here talking today about the election on November 8th, I believe, here in the United States, for the President of the United States for the next 4 years. And obviously, there's two candidates that are right now in the main running. You have Hillary Clinton for the Democratic Party and Donald Trump for the Republican Party. And if you've followed my writings, I've obviously been a huge, not a fan of Hillary Clinton. And as for Donald Trump, I think, there's certain potential I see in him, but I'd say we're in a rough situation right now, but I think one of the reasons we're in a rough situation is because we have a nation where the communications apparatus, the media, has lined up in support of one side, and then they wonder why there's a backlash against them. They wonder why people do not believe their statements, and I'll get right to it. Just want to give a quick note. This week, World Series is starting. I'm going for Chicago Cubs. I am from Cleveland. I've been a conservative free speech advocate, but to tell you the truth, I stopped following the Indians a few years ago. I do think that the Indian mascot is a problem. I think you're free to wear whatever you want, and I won't call you a racist, but I've been a Cubs fan since I was a kid too, so I'm going for the Cubs, and I respect all my Indians fans, friends, but go Cubs, and I've been waiting for this moment pretty long too, waiting for both of these teams to be in the World Series. So, congratulations to both of you, but I'm going for the Cubs. But getting to our topic, and I have up on the screen a graphic from the Oregon presidential primary, and what am I going to get to? We have a problem right now where the media is claiming that the election is already set. And the issue I have here is that, okay, I'm going to scroll up. You had primaries in blue states. I have bronchitis, by the way. If I'm coughing, I apologize to y'all listeners. But we had primaries in the blue states that they should give Hillary Clinton pause to really gloat over anything, because in reality we're going to see a real problem for her, and we have been seeing a problem for her attracting the progressive voters, which I'm not one of. I have a number of friends that are very progressive. I can't understand their views. I can understand them, but I've sort of moved to a place where I don't really see them as logical anymore, because I've lived through certain elements of progressivism where it's just become obvious to me that it's a lie. For them, it's clear as day. But the progressive voters are a potent group in the United States. I'll explain why that's a problem for Hillary Clinton. Well, there was an amazing writer that passed away 2011. His name was Christopher Hitchens. Very eloquent guy from Southampton, England. He described how the Clintons betrayed their progressive base during the husband Bill Clinton's presidential run. It was called No One Left to Lie To, and I actually bought it and I lent it to somebody last week who's reading it. But what she's done, and that's why her primary challenge to Bernie Sanders is continued, or her challenger Bernie Sanders created such a problem for her, was that she alienated her progressive base. They allowed them have not believed the Clintons as a family for a while, that they're in tune with the progressive values of their constituencies. And that's going to be a bigger problem. They're claiming that the Republican divisions between the traditional GOP and the Trump insurgent campaign are the real problem. And yes, that's a huge issue. I personally have avoided the Republican Party like the plague for years, because I'm not a traditional GOP voter. I believed in small government, and they've never delivered it. They never have. They've been a consistent liar about it, and they've never come through on their offer. And Trump himself has not impressed me very much with some of his policies, especially expanding the defense budget. If you were going to make a serious program, it would be about making a smart military, not a large military, which is what he's going for. So we're talking about the schism in the GOP as if it's like some sort of crippling issue, but the fact is, all the people that moved on to the Hillary side that were GOP supporters, a lot of them Bush administration lackeys, they don't have a public that they really serve. That's why they did so awfully in the primaries themselves, and Trump walked through like he was some sort of Tet offensive in Vietnam, when they basically caught the South Vietnamese off guard. The Viet Cong did. He went right through them like a knife through butter. And she's the one who's using them now as an example of these are the GOP people that are actually going to be supporting Hillary. That's why you should vote for me. Well, that's exactly the issue. And I've been listening to people on the progressive side, whether it's TYT or the Humanist Report, and these are not, believe me, these are people that would not be wanting to be seen as sympathetic to the conservative cause, or the fiscally conservative cause, which I believe in, but they've stated the points that I've made for a while, that the people that are fed up with the political system, they don't want another George Bush redux or another Bill Clinton redux. They want a different direction in their leadership. That's why Bernie Sanders had a very impressive showing in the primary. And people believe he's been sort of Munsoned out of it, if you remember that movie, Kingpin. But that's been like their huge weak point, that the Democrats now are the establishment party. They've been the establishment party with Barack Obama, and they're even more of an establishment party with Hillary Clinton and her George Bush New World Order converts. I mean, when did they suddenly get this sort of conscience where they're going to support this woman that for decades they've known that she's a complete and utter valueless phony, and it was known in the 90s. So suddenly they're gonna change their spots. I'm the leopard. That's my page. I'm not the leopard, but the page is bold like a leopard. And they're going to believe that Hillary Clinton's going to change her spots, or the zebra's going to change her stripes. It doesn't work that way for the public. You can't convince anybody that through no action of her own, and she hasn't done anything to repent for her numerous egregious indiscretions to the voters, whether you're on the right side or on the left side. I mean, it's a shared burden what she's done to people that are in favor of universal health care, to people that are in favor of such things as the right to bear arms. Those are things that she's gone and she's violated people's trust again and again and again, just by changing her positions repeatedly. The NAFTA people are very, very, the NAFTA opponents, I would say, not the NAFTA supporters. NAFTA opponents are up in arms this election. That's why Donald Trump had such a huge success. And what I'm getting at is that Bernie Sanders' residual effect is much important than him himself. She has him out there shilling for him right now as some sort of prisoner of war, and it's just a complete, and it's ineffectual, because the people that voted for Bernie Sanders, they they pretty much knew why they weren't going to vote for him, and I'll explain why. She shouldn't be worrying about the swing states and she should be worrying about them, but on top of that, she should be worrying about states that Mr. Obama, President Obama, and even John Kerry probably never had to really have competition over when they were running for president. Kerry, I'm not so sure. I'm not going to go that in depth today, but let's talk about some of these blue states. Oregon, which I've had on the screen since the beginning, you might be getting tired of looking at it. In this primary this year in May, when only the Democrats were really relevant, Bernie Sanders came out and he cleaned her clock. He got every county except for one county all the way up in the Washington border area, and Hillary Clinton was pretty much dragged across the floor by an old man, and that's what happened. And that's because Oregonians. I have a roommate from Oregon. He's an asshole, but Oregonians are very. I'm just kidding, man. If you're listening, yeah, whatever. You're from Oregon, so screw you. But the people from Oregon are progressives mostly in the urban centers in Portland and Eugene and to some extent the other university towns. Whereas in the countryside, there's a nice mix of progressives and libertarians and also conservatives. A lot of conservatives in Oregon that people don't know about. People that are really concerned about their gun rights. So 600 people showed up to vote for that election. 641,595 in the Democratic primary. The Republican primary occurred after the other two candidates besides Donald Trump had withdrawn, Ted Cruz and John Kasich. And yet 250,000 people showed up to vote for Donald Trump, and about 100, it says here about 127,000 other voters showed up to vote for Ted Cruz and John Kasich, even though they had already withdrawn. So there was a fair amount of turnout for the Republican nomination contest in Oregon, which is it's been a blue state for a long time. And in Bernie Sanders' case, he had 360,829 people that showed up for him. That's a fairly large turnout for that election. Now let's go to the primary contest from. Excuse me. I'm sorry if I'm coughing the whole time, but this bronchitis is a bitch. Now in the Republican primary in 2012, let me see if I can get the screen to change. Hold on.